In this video, we're going to put the RCBS Matchmaster powder funnel to the test and compare it against some other funnels. Let's get to it. Hey there, Kyle Shields from UltimateReloader.com. Recently, Gavin and I were at RCBS. Mostly Gavin was doing the content, I was doing the filming. But after we got done doing the Matchmaster video, Joe and Joel kind of pulled us aside over a little bit to what they were working on, and they showed us this Matchmaster powder funnel that they had unreleased at the time, and they released it at the SHOT Show this year. They showed us one of their videos that they put together, and they were overall really happy with what they had come out with and what they had made. So they sent us home a couple of these to try out, just to see how we like it. And so I hadn't used it all that much. I've used it like once or twice, and Gavin has been using it off and on since, and he said he really liked it. So what I thought I would do is, it'd be a good time to compare it against some other funnels, including a bog standard plastic funnel that might come with your kit. And what I wanted to do is put together something that was realistic. So I wanted to do a few powders that, well, one that was tricky, one that was common like a short stick, and one that was a ball powder. So that's what we got here. We got CFE 223 for a ball powder, which I did it for why not? Just assuming that ball powder is probably gonna flow just fine, but you never know. Why not test it? See if it sticks inside the funnel, things like that. Then for our standard, like small extruded powder, we got Varget, very common, very popular powder. Then for a tricky one, we got IMR 3031. Now we don't have this here around the shop. This is actually mine. I brought it in. I really like it for my 3030. It's fun to shoot those 150 grain Berry's bullets out of my lever gun. So just a really good standard powder. And yeah, what I've run into with this powder before is with this funnel is it likes to bridge all the time. So I was actually really looking forward to trying this, and the results I got kind of surprised me and kind of didn't. First, I started off with CFE 223. So let's just get in right to my results here. I chose a charge weight of 27.8, and for CFE 223, I chose like what would be a 55 grain bullet, you know, pretty standard 223 load for a ball powder, maybe like a plinking load or just a range load, you know. So with the RCBS, it didn't stick at all, so 0. In other words, there was no sticking, there was no spillage, nothing like that. The SAC is an interesting one. It includes this extension. So they recommend that you use the extension when you're using ball powder. So I did 2 tests because we'll get into this later, but this has some options where you may or may not have the extension. So I decided just to do due diligence and try it with both. So the SAC with the extension, it stuck twice. The SAC without the extension stuck 10 times. So every time. Now, for this, I did 10 charges for each powder. So in other words, without the extension, it stuck every time. And what would happen is that powder would get stuck around the top of the case mouth there, where the very end of the funnel is. Then with the Lee, it stuck 9 out of 10. And what happens with the Lee is that this is such a loose fit that if you angle it any sort of way, that would cause it to stick. I was noticing if you hold it dead on, like straight as much as you can, it may or may not stick as well. So now we will analyze what I found with the CFE 223. So the RCBS didn't stick and flowed very well. Didn't notice any powder spillage on the bench or anything like that. The SAC with the extension had very little sticking, but some powder spilled onto the table. There were some granules I noticed just scattered about. The powder also gathered at the case mouth without the extension, and again, SAC recommends that you use the extension when you're using ball powders. To summarize, RCBS didn't spill any powder at all. SAC spilled a little bit of powder on the bench throughout the 10 charges, and the Lee, a little bit of powder but on the bench, but not very much. So in other words, you're losing a little bit of powder there. Now for the Varget testing results. So I chose a charge weight of 23.7, and this will also be for 223. This might say you're doing like a bolt action load, so more of a precision oriented load than what you would with CFE 223. So that would be equivalent like a 77 grain bullet, maybe like the Berger or a Sierra or something like that. So 23.7 grains of powder was my simulated weight. With the RCBS, the number of times it bridged or stuck was 0. With the SAC, it was 9, and with the Lee, it was 4. Now with the SAC, I did not use the extension for the extruded powder just because I didn't see any notes about using or not using the extension. I'm sure you could go either way. If you use the extension, you might have a little bit better results, but I was impressed. Really, everything continues to flow really well through the RCBS powder funnel. So lastly, we're going to go to the IMR 3031. Now, again, tricky powder. I chose 30.5 grains of powder. So all these are near the max end. So this would be near the max end for a 150 grain flat nose bullet, such as a Sierra or a Berry's or something like that. Although with the Berry's, it might be a little bit too fast because your velocity limitations. But again, this is all simulated. This isn't reality, but it could be. So the number of times that powder bridged or stuck with the RCBS, another trend, 0. With the SAC, it was also 0. And with the Lee, it was 7. Now, this did not surprise me. And the reason is because when I started out, I bought a Lee Challenger kit. And in that kit was this funnel. I just used it because it's what I got. I was getting started. I was on a budget. And honestly, I wasn't in a race. I was new at the time. And, you know, noticing some bridging, like just by my research, that what it was called. You know, I didn't know even it was called bridging at the time. It was just a standard thing. It's something you deal with. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. But if you're loading hundreds of rounds manually, now it might not be 30-30, you know, but if you are, having bridging every time could be a little annoying to have to dump your powder in and then tap the side of the funnel. And so that's what I would do anytime these powder funnels bridged. I would just give a few taps and see how many taps it would take to get it unstuck. And with this one, it's usually 3 to 4 like gentle taps on the top there to wedge things loose. Analyzing the results for 3031, 3031, like I said, can be a tricky powder. It's not a short extruded powder, it's on the longer end. It's not as tricky as some other powders, but it's still a little tricky to throw through a powder funnel, and especially through a traditional gravity hopper powder measure, you know, not the electronic ones like this. The RCBS was fast and didn't bridge. The SAC was also fast and didn't bridge. The Lee bridged a lot and was also noticeably slower. So what is the specs and features of the RCBS Matchmaster powder funnel? So it comes just like this. It includes a hard case, and it includes the powder funnel itself and 6 adapters for different calibers. That's pretty cool that it has everything you need right out of the box. These simply just screw on like so. So pretty quick to change out. You can also have a storage spot for each of them, so has a place, keeps everything together just like so. Pretty neat. Pretty well thought out package, and the fact that you get 6 of them will cover most of your needs. So it goes from 22 cal all the way up to 338. So for most of you, that's probably going to cover about everything you need. And I did notice anytime I used just 2 of these cases and maybe a few of the other cases I've charged with this off and on in the past, it seems to fit really well. If you look down into the funnel, you'll notice that the case mouth is set back a little bit. So in other words, the adapter is covering right to the edge of the case mouth. And why that's important is that prevents that sticking or clogging like you'd see with these other 2 from time to time. So the other nice thing is it's made from aluminum and has a anti-stick coating that will prevent the ball powders or your stick powders, or any powder for that matter, of course, from sticking to the side. So it's really slick. The price is $99.99, so $99.99, right under $100 MSRP. And on online retailers, it's about $85, give or take. So not too bad. Now, for the SAC funnel, this might be a good option for people who already own the comparators or in this ecosystem, if you will. Here's where it's different. It's $200 MSRP with 4 inserts like you'd see here that you can choose. If you want to add what would be comparable to the RCBS, so you'd have, let's say, 6 inserts and 6 inserts or adapters, that jacks the price up to $260. Each of these inserts are $30 a piece from SAC. If you just want the funnel itself, which means you probably already own the system, it is $60. So that's still quite pricey for a powder funnel. You know, each their own. Again, if you're already in the system, it might be worth it to you, but the fact that this comes in a lot less and has everything you need is really appealing to me, and it's just really well built. And from what I was looking at, the RCBS seemed just a touch faster than the SAC at times. It wasn't by much, but visually, just looking at it, it seemed like it flowed a lot easier and again, just a little bit faster. So in conclusion, if you want a nice funnel, definitely give the RCBS a look. It's worth looking at if you don't want to mess around with bridging or anything like that and you want to upgrade from your plastic funnel. The RCBS, again, seemed to be the fastest just by eye. It's not a scientific test. I'll be honest, before making this video, I had all sorts of ideas of what I wanted to do. There was dreams and aspirations for going fully scientific with, sensors or some sort of actuating servo to open a gate that would drop the powder all at a consistent level somehow. But with the time constraints, with everything, it was just going to be a lot of work. But that was what I would like to do. So I dialed it back and just did a simple test where I dumped the powder in and was as consistent as I could be and doing everything the same as I could. So again, take that with a grain of salt, but just by looking, you could see the results for yourself here. I think the RCBS was just a little bit faster. But I don't think speed really is the determining factor. Personally, each their own, but I think it's more about how is it bridging and how consistent is it? And this one seemed to have a slight edge over the rest. The SAC funnel also works well, but like I said, it's expensive, so there you go. Plastic funnels, they do the job, but they're slower and they don't fit well. So if you look here, well, especially with the 223, when you fit this over, this wobbles around a lot, like a lot. And that's the same. You might go, okay, well, what about this one? What about the 3030? It's the same thing. It's not as bad, but it still wobbles around a lot. And the reason is these are universal. They're not meant to fit a specific caliber or specific size. So they have to be a little generous. And some of these, I believe, also work for pistol as well. Yeah, 22 through 45 caliber is what this says. So it's got to cover a wide range. It's just not going to have the precision fit like one of these nicer powder funnels. But, most of you already probably have a plastic funnel like this. And, if either of these are just a little bit too much for you, these might not be for you, and that's okay. You can keep using your plastic funnel. These are great. But for those of you that do want to upgrade, you want to stop messing around with bridging, you want something faster, and you just want to treat yourself to something nice, yeah, give this RCBS one a look. Priced right, works well for my testing, and that's at least what I think from using it here for a little bit. It was pretty cool to do this testing and to try a bunch of powders out here and see how everything worked. I do need to mention that I did use the Matchmaster. You'll see it here. I used the Matchmaster to keep all the charges very consistent. It was kind of my scale and my charging system for all the testing here. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Do you have either of these funnels? Do you have another funnel from any of the other awesome companies out there? Are you going to look at the RCBS powder funnel? Are you going to get one? Do you already have one? And which do you prefer? Do you prefer the basic plastic funnel, or have you used these nicer funnels and do you prefer those with the precision fit? And what do you look for in a funnel? Speed, bridging, both? Let me know in the comments section below. That's all for this one, and until next time, I will see you later.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.